So my name is Taylor Starr. I began my academic career at York University in the Law and Society program in 2014. And then from there, I ended up pursuing a master's degree in history, also at York. And so now I've just completed my PhD in history at York. As I was in the graduate program at York, I began a research project actually during my master's work that looked at three components of the legal academy, the legal profession rather, and I noticed that there was a gap. So my research project for my doctoral dissertation focuses on the integration of women into Canadian legal academia from the period of 1961 to 1994. It explores the barriers that women faced in becoming law professors during this period and how these challenges were shaped by broader societal norms. I actually do an analysis of how patriarchal structures and androcentric traditions influenced women's professional trajectories in the academy. So using a combination of archival research and oral histories, I bring these untold stories from women in the academy to light. So in simpler terms, if I was explaining this to someone that has absolutely no idea what happened in the legal academy from 1961 to 1994, I studied the struggles and triumphs of women entering the legal teaching space and the lasting impact that those women have had on legal education and equality. The inspiration for this topic, again, comes from my master's work, which looked at those three components of the legal profession. And it comes from a personal and academic desire to understand how law as an institution has evolved to reflect or resist societal changes. So again, while pursuing my graduate studies, I was struck by this big absence of women in historical accounts of the legal academy and how they actually entered their voices into the scholarship after 1974, when there was an uptick in courses on women in the law. My work is also extremely deeply influenced by Justice Rosalia Bella's Equality in Employment Report of 1984, which actually shaped how we understand and how we have come to understand affirmative action in the workplace. So it comes from a lot of places, but in my positionality as a woman looking to enter an academic space, whether in the legal academy or just in any university, I wanted to deeply understand the historical ties and the little nuances that aren't necessarily written about in Canada's history as it is now. Getting to do the oral history interviews with early women law professors, listening to their firsthand experiences and learning about their persistence in the face of systemic challenges has been both humbling and deeply inspiring. Their stories add a lot of depth to my research, but they also offer invaluable perspectives on how far we've come and what still needs to be done. So I think that in thinking about my research project moving forward, personal stories and firsthand accounts and writing them into the written record is my absolute, I think, my biggest contribution. I like to think about it in the way in which just bringing knowledge of narratives that hadn't been written previously. Because my research highlights the systemic barriers that women have faced in professional fields, it demonstrates how these institutional changes over time can be achieved in both internal and external advocacy. So I also have other research publications that deals with women's voices in changing law reform. For example, my research on Ontario's Family Law Act of 1986 looks at women's interventions in changing laws for married women at that time, asking for 50-50 at marriage breakdown, which was something that didn't exist before 1986. And again, now that law really has remained the same. So by documenting the story of women in legal academia, it provides valuable lessons for us for ongoing efforts to address gender inequality in other professions. On a broader level, it encourages society to critically examine how historical narratives are shaped and whose stories are told, offering a more inclusive understanding of both history and law at the same time. So now I actually am beginning teaching at the University of Toronto in January, but I am also planning on doing more research in this space. I plan to blend my historical expertise with my knowledge of the law to further research in this field. And so my long-term goal is to continue working on projects that bridge the gap between history and law, focusing on areas, again, like family law reform and social justice advocacy. I'm particularly interested in the way in which the state gets involved with relationships. So I'm planning on doing some more research in that space as well. And that's pretty much where I see myself going at this point. My biggest passion is to definitely end up teaching to some extent and researching. And if I can make a living doing that, I would be absolutely fulfilled.